everyone. Welcome to another week of Wake Up Call. I am back, and I'm doing this episode from my living room just because I didn't feel like doing it in the office this week. It's a beautiful fall day, and I just wanted to watch the trees move and be in my more comfortable chair. And this setup takes 2 seconds as opposed to the one in my office, which takes like a good half hour or an hour to set up, and I didn't feel like dealing with it. So if you've been wondering where I've been the past 2 weeks, no, I was not sick. Well, actually, I kind of a little bit was, but not enough to be gone. We were discussing the future of the show, and I've obviously been doing this it'll be a year in November. So we were discussing, some changes and upgrades I'd like to make to a few things. And seems that is all going to be good to go. And I also, in the coming months, I personally would like to be expanding. You will always be getting exclusive content here from me that you won't be able to find anywhere else. But I would like to start doing some additional shows off the platform. So if you guys want more of my stuff on top of what I'm already doing, then you'll be able to find that. And that's the direction that I'm moving in. So hopefully you guys will continue to like my stuff. Also, if I'm ever gone and you don't hear from me and I'm not sick and it's not stuff that we're dealing with in terms of the show, sometimes if I feel like I don't have all my ducks in a row for an episode, I'd rather skip a week than give you dog shit. I mean, quite frankly, I always want to bring my A game to these episodes, and I would rather always do that than, have random one-offs that are just not that great. So if I'm ever gone for that reason too, you'll know that there's a good chance that might be why. With that being said, okay, so past few episodes, I've talked about this Mormon rabbit hole. It's interesting. More people are catching on to it, and that is great. Some of it's a little bit concerning because some more mainstream alternative personalities are talking about it that I don't fully trust. But then there are others who are, I would say, more trustworthy discussing it, and I think that that's a really good thing. So that's great. But it's kind of like my first taste of being the first one to talk about something and not getting the credit for it, really, which is fine. I mean, that's going to happen from time to time. But I would say most of the time that I'm covering stuff, it's at least some other people are talking about it or may have talked about it way in the past, and we've forgotten about it, and I re-dig it up and I kind of formulate it in my own way. But I really feel on this one that I was one of the first people to make these Mormon Zionist connections to the Charlie Kirk stuff and current events. Also interesting, 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, Mitt Romney's sister-in-law randomly falling out of a parking garage. Mitt Romney is a well-known LDS Mormon. And we'll be getting into a little bit of that. But at the same time that I've been going down this Mormon rabbit hole, I've been interested in the 3i Atlas stuff, because ultimately, I mean, to make a long story short, I think that it is the beginnings of Project Bluebeam. Whether it's an interstellar comet or whether it's a mothership or whether it's a hologram, I don't know. I think that the idea that it's a mothership with either malevolent or benevolent beings is being fed to us so we can begin to accept this alien agenda. I'm not saying that it's definitely not, but I would lean more towards it's not. I think that this is the beginning of Bluebeam, even if it's real, using this discussion to start to make the alien agenda more mainstream. I think that that's where this is all going. But since I'm on the topic of Bluebeam, and we've kind of discussed that there's a possibility that the Charlie Kirk shooting was a Bluebeam operation, and that there could have been holographic technology that was used. I mean, I know it sounds out there, but there is that slight possibility. And if that is the case, it's pretty ironic that there are all of these state-of-the-art holographic tech companies in Utah, too, that very few people have talked about. So I find that to be kind of ironic. And if you're not familiar with 3i Atlas, which I'm sure most of you are at this point, but if you're not, it's a recently discovered interstellar comet, the third of its kind ever detected. It's notable for its age, potentially billions of years old. Some say 33 billion. Its unusual chemical composition, high ratio of carbon dioxide to water, and its unique, highly active behavior. Some Harvard scientists have even speculated that it could be an alien mothership, which has sparked all sorts of controversy about the origins and intentions of this comet. Or it's freaking projected into the sky. Like, I mean, who knows what the hell this is? This whole 3i Atlas thing, a few days ago, Avi Loeb was on, he's the Harvard scientist who was on Joe Rogan talking about it. And in the first few minutes, they automatically discount anybody who says that this isn't real, which is even Joe Rogan having this ex-IDF member on talking about alien spaceships and extraterrestrials is already a red flag in itself. But if you're not familiar with this guy, Avi Loeb, he wrote a piece in 2023 called An Extraterrestrial Messiah, suggesting that the Jewish Messiah will be coming from another planet. Oh, really? Other relevant Loeb quotes: the arrival of superhuman intelligence at Earth could fulfill the longing for a messianic age in Jewish eschatology, ushering peace, justice, and prosperity on Earth. The agency of superhuman intelligence could either be in the form of alien intelligence or artificial intelligence, both abbreviated as AI. Jews were persecuted throughout history. As a result, they instinctively respond to each historic event by asking the question, is this good for Jews? Regarding the futuristic encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence, my answer to this question is definitely yes. Without guidance from aliens, we might never get to the promised land. So here's a clip of Avi on Joe Rogan's podcast, just a few-minute clip, and you tell me what you think.
Good to see you, sir.
Great to be with you, Joe.
It's a perfect time to bring you on because things are getting very wild.
Yeah, there is a lot of misinformation. You know, some people said, I invented 3i Atlas, this object, in order to distract attention from the Epstein files.
Is that what people are saying?
Yeah, and I said, look, this object is the size of Manhattan Island. It's at 4.5 times the Earth-Sun separation. If I was able to put it out there, you know, I would be more powerful than the Pope. And because we're talking about a giant object that you can see from any place on Earth. You know, you can buy online a telescope that will allow you, 0.5 meter in size, that will allow you to see it. It's out there. It cannot be faked.
Well, those people are fools. You can't listen to those people.
I don't listen to those. I don't listen to many people, you know.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trusting that guy for 1 second. So what is Bluebeam? Bluebeam was founded by Serge Monast. He was a Canadian conspiracy theorist, and he basically said that, you know, the New World Order would get ushered in by destroying the Abrahamic religions and replacing them with a New Age belief system using futuristic NASA technology and involving a faked alien invasion or fake extraterrestrial encounter meant to deceive nations into uniting under a New World government. In the 90s, he started writing on the theme of the New World Order and conspiracies hatched by secret societies, being particularly inspired by the works of William Guy Carp. In 94, he published Project Bluebeam, in which he detailed his claim that NASA, with the help of the UN, now, I'm just going to stop right there. The UN and NASA have deep, deep ties to Utah, and all of this technocracy, the birthing of the technocracy in the United States that I'm talking about in Utah being tied to the Mormons, NASA and the UN have heavy involvement there. So as I'm making all of these connections to space exploration, NASA, and the military-industrial complex, and all of this, aside from the technocracy stuff that I found coming out of Utah, you know, all this military-industrial complex stuff and space stuff, I can't help but think it has something to do with this 3i Atlas BS, because now all of a sudden we're going to the moon again, apparently in April, with this Artemis program. But guess who's powering it all up? Utah, powering NASA's SLS rocket and Artemis program. And the irony is all of these articles and videos that I'm going to share with you today are basically, they came out right around the time that Artemis was found and discovered. Like, this article is from June 25th, which was just days before Artemis was discovered. Maybe that's random, maybe it's not. Utah powering NASA's SLS rocket and Artemis program. I won't read the whole article, but basically it says that, you know, the whole Artemis program is coming out of Utah, and, you know, the next moon landing is going to be powered up by NASA in Utah, and Artemis 2 and Artemis 3 will include orbiting around the moon and landing on the moon, respectively. The Artemis missions are under NASA's ambitious long-term exploration plan called Moon to Mars architecture. The goal is to send humans deeper into space than ever before. So interesting that, it's coming out of, this is coming out of the planetarium in Salt Lake City, and in the pictures that they're showing. Lindgren, the guy that they're showing in this article, is called Utah a partner in exploration for decades. With more than 3,000 Artemis suppliers nationwide, Utah has become the factory for the very propulsion systems that the SLS rockets use. And it goes on to tell you how Utah is going back to the moon. Dave Reynolds, another Utah native and program manager for the SLS booster office at NASA, echoed Lindgren's view of the moon as a starting point for further exploration. And, you know, a lot of people could argue, well, Utah is a great place for that because it's, you know, Utah and Nevada, the desert, are like the closest thing to Mars and a lot of these, you know, planets and stuff like that. But I think there's more to it than just that. Some of the biggest names in the aerospace industry have a Utah presence, including Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and others, and the state's connections to the business of space track back to the industry's advent. So the Utah presence isn't new necessarily, but it's definitely becoming more of a central focus. And this video was ironically released at the same time 3i Atlas was discovered. This is Moon Travel from Utah, how Utahns are forging the future of space travel 55 years after Apollo 11. And you can check it out. At 1 minute and 38 seconds into this video, they mention the Atlas V rocket. Now, anytime I hear the same words over and over again, I mean, I'm not one to like overly read into gematria and stuff like that, but whenever I hear repeat words like the Atlas V rocket and 3i Atlas, like it's repetitive, so that kind of is interesting to me. So check this out.
Roger, we copy.
Headlines.
That's one small step for man.
The first draft of history.
As a civilization, we've looked at the moon, dreamed about the moon.
One giant leap for mankind.
55 years ago, the headlines read, "Of moments humanity will never forget."
Godspeed, John Glenn. 10, 9, 8.
In 1961, we hadn't even put anybody to orbit yet. We had merely launched a couple of suborbital flights, and the president challenged us.
We choose to go to the moon.
And we made that dream come true. We sent astronauts to that lunar surface.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
That was such a uniting event.
But those headlines haven't read the same for 50 years. Even then, the question was asked, what's next in space? Well, it's time to go back.
We've made an incredible amount of progress, and we are on the cusp of something very special.
But before America ever steps foot on the moon again, we need Utah. On a hillside west of the Salt Lake Valley sits a facility steeped in history and innovation.
We have been building boosters since the late 70s.
This is Mark Pond, Senior Director of NASA Programs at Northrop Grumman.
I was an infant when Gene Cernan stepped off the moon in 1972. I feel completely cheated that I didn't get to be a part of that.
He and many others in Utah have been involved in building solid rocket boosters right in our own backyard.
The motors that you've got over here are the GEM 63s. The GEM 63s are used on the Atlas V rocket. And the GEM 63 XLs support the Vulcan vehicle.
Good SRBs.
These motors are great if you want to get to space. But if it's to the moon you want to go, you only need to travel a little further north up I-15.
Minus 57 minutes and counting.
To Northrop Grumman's Promontory facility.
So Northrop Grumman builds two major components for Artemis II. The two white solid rocket boosters on the sides of the stack, on the sides of SLS, and then we also build the launch abort system.
Right now, they're getting ready for launch.
We shipped the hardware to the launch site about a year and a half ago.
Another prepping is Dave Reynolds. As a native Utahn, he's looked to the stars for as long as he can remember.
The first experience that I can really remember that was related to space was when I was in second grade. My teacher wheeled in a TV and the class watched the Space Shuttle Challenger. There was something about the bravery of those astronauts that sparked something in me as a kid.
Today, he no longer lives in Utah, although his heart's here, since now
I'm the SLS Booster Program Manager at NASA. Yeah, Marshall Space Flight Center, NASA.
Roger.
So what can an SLS booster do?
All required personnel are on station.
Well, as the most powerful segmented solid rocket motor ever produced, it can do
5, 4, 3, 2,
this.
1.
It's silent for about the first 3 or 4 seconds, and then it hits you. And it just rumbles your bones for 2 minutes.
T plus 60 seconds.
Shook the mountainside. I mean, I guarantee they heard it from miles and miles around. This rocket, the SLS rocket, is the only rocket that is capable of sending the Orion capsule with the astronauts to the moon.
A truly inspiring sight. And few know more about inspiration
Dr. Langford?
than Kjell Lindgren.
I have the privilege of serving as a NASA astronaut. I flew to the International Space Station in 2015, and then more recently had the privilege of commanding the Crew 4 mission to the International Space Station on a SpaceX Crew Dragon.
As an astronaut, he's now the head of NASA's flight directorate and directly responsible for the Artemis mission.
I've wanted to be an astronaut for as long as I can remember. Most of us that are involved in human spaceflight were inspired by the images of our Apollo astronauts exploring the lunar surface.
So soon, 4 brave souls will again push the boundaries of what's possible.
It will be our friends and colleagues that we're going to be sending around the moon in Artemis II.
With Utah powering the way to those headlines once again.
This is the reason why the Artemis program exists.
We can all look out at the stars, and it inspires in every one of us a curiosity.
Spencer Joseph.
Weather is go for launch.
Fox 13 News.
I absolutely think this is the golden age of space travel.
And you're cleared for takeoff.
Utah.
And another interesting company is 47G. You can go to their website, and their website states, at 47G, our mission is to make Utah the nation's premier ecosystem for aerospace and defense companies. We bring together academic institutions, service providers, government and community partners to foster talent, fund entrepreneurship, and fuel innovation in Utah. America's deep tech frontier. And what they do is they have basically been supplying Ukraine with defense weapons. And you know what? It always cracks me up when they say defense weapons. No, it's offense weapons. You're bombing innocent people with these weapons, okay? So 47G is essentially a military industrial complex. Huge company with that. And I think that they are actually, from my research, I think that they're going to have a huge role in ushering in the surveillance state within the United States. They actually have a conference coming up in a few days, so you can check this video out. This is what their conference is going to be about. And then following that, you can also check out the video of them happily supplying Ukraine with weapons to kill innocent people, and their happy little go-lucky music in the background. And they're clearly Mormons. I mean, you know that Mormon look. And they, you know, no problem killing innocent people. These people are completely brainwashed. So check it out.
All of us are going to know, and all of us are going to be impacted. That's what this is about today. Deterrence, strength, preparing our military, bringing in private capital. Those are the things that we're going to talk about today.
This is about peace through strength. This is about creating a place where our children can go to school and feel safe. This is an opportunity for us to come together and have a dialogue about how we guarantee economic success for future generations. This industry deserves a summit. And here in the top of the mountains, we're convening 800 people today to talk about what's happening from a defense and security perspective, which is absolutely incredible.
We are really lucky to represent the Utah Aerospace and Defense Association because they're some of the most patriotic Americans and patriotic Utahns that you will ever meet. We felt there was such a great opportunity that when we heard there was a plan to actually go to Ukraine and connect businesses with the military and with the government, we didn't want to be left out. It was really great for our companies to go to Ukraine and actually show what they have to offer. And those relationships were forged in person. Ukraine and their government really saw Utah being the first state to make a trade mission to Ukraine. They'll remember that. And they remember how passionate we are about their cause. And because of that, there was a really strong bond, not just a relationship, but a really strong bond that formed between our two governments.
You know, UATA had a very special purpose in this effort, and that was to connect aerospace, defense, and security companies to buyers, partners, and investors within Ukraine. It became very clear to us that the number one thing that the Ukrainian people are interested in is technology that can help them win the war, and that makes a lot of sense. Drone technologies, radars, sensors, missiles, munitions manufacturers, all of which we can find right here in the great state of Utah, can automatically plug in and be helpful to these people right away. At the end of the day, this is not about war, this is not about commerce, this is about people. People are at the heart of everything that we do, and no one knows that better than the state of Utah.
I understand the conflict much differently than I did before because I saw how real it was. In downtown Kyiv, they have burnt out tanks and armored vehicles, cars. These people have to walk by that every single day. They have pictures posted of all of the fallen in the town square, and there are hundreds and thousands of faces that they see every single day. And that really put it in perspective. We would have air raids. It's an app on your phone that would alert you if there were any incoming threats to the city. And when we were staying in Kyiv, that was often, probably every day. And when they would make eye contact or speak to me after they would see the alarm go off, they would say, thanks to the Americans, we don't have to worry about that alarm going off as much.
You know, as we got into our meetings, it became very clear that they wanted more of our time. We were in Ternopil, we were in Milonitsky, we were in Kyiv, Lviv. We saw a lot of the country, and at every stop along the way, One of the questions we received was, can you stay longer? There's someone I'd like you to meet.
They saw the sincerity of Utahns. They saw the sincerity of our government, of President Adams, of our defense industry. That was really important to them. They saw that we were the real deal, and they made a meeting with President Zelensky happen. I think the general public and the industry need to understand about doing business in Ukraine, as there's a lot of opportunity that we haven't tapped into yet, and we're looking forward to doing that.
We can't be wobbly with our commitment to democratic principles. If we're the leader of the free world, then we need to step up and help these people.
We have the manufacturing capability, we have the tools, we have the technology, the expertise, the logistics to help them. The Ukrainians are the underdogs here. They're fighting against a giant nuclear power, and they're an economy the size of Utah. There is no way they would be able to put up a fight against a big bully without our help.
My plea and my invitation to leadership here in the state is to be united in our support of Ukraine and its victory over Russia.
So I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the episode, but if I didn't, let me say it again. A few weeks ago, while I was gone, there was the mysterious death of Mitt Romney's sister-in-law. She randomly fell out of a parking garage from multiple stories, and she was going through a divorce with Mitt Romney's brother, and that is just completely pushed to the side, got very little publicity, one day in the news and then it was done. But Mitt Romney is a known Mormon, and I am very suspicious of that one. But I thought it was interesting to note that Romney is a partner with Peter Thiel in smart home builds in Provo, Utah. So actually, Utah is going to be like the #1 state of these smart city builds, and eventually they really want to do away with cars and all that, and use the state for smart city builds. Also, cloud seeding is really, really popular there now. The state runs the world's largest remote controlled cloud seeding program, and you can watch on Fox Utah. They just act like it's completely normal. This is totally great. This is a godsend, when they're dumping freaking toxic crap all over the whole entire state.
Thanks to a massive infusion of cash and some new technologies, the state now operates the world's largest remote-controlled cloud seeding program.
We're off to a great start this water year. Hopefully it's not a repeat of last year's pattern.
The group that oversees Utah's water resources got some good news when it comes to cloud seeding. That's pumping silver iodide into the atmosphere to squeeze a little more precipitation out of a storm.
The statewide average is 10.4% increase in snowpack.
To help in Utah's drought and the crisis facing the Great Salt Lake and the Colorado River, Utah jumped into cloud seeding in a big way. The legislature upped the budget from $200,000 a few years ago to nearly $16 million. That allowed the state to invest in remote-controlled generators.
When it improves the efficiency, they can be turned on and off quicker, and it also improves the effectiveness because they can be placed at higher elevations, above temperature inversions, for example.
The state is also purchasing new drones to do cloud seeding. That helps in areas like the La Salle Mountains in southeastern Utah, where they found ground generators don't work as well because of climate patterns in that region.
I think it's really exciting that we're leading the world.
Dana Van Horn, who represents southeastern Utah communities on the board, says it could help.
If we can increase the snowpack in the La Salle Mountains, I think that it'll directly impact the Colorado River flow.
In fact, lower Colorado River Basin states are now paying Utah to do cloud seeding because it benefits them.
They recognize that the water supply for the Colorado is in our mountains.
Idaho has also started kicking in money to help the Bear River and the Great Salt Lake. The state is also partnering with academic institutions for research on cloud seeding. Silver iodide is found to be safe.
Cloud seeding is a part of a silver buckshot method. There are no silver bullets as it relates to solving our Western water issues.
But environmentalists caution that cloud seeding is just one tool to help.
You know, I think the best thing that we could be doing is just reducing our use all over the place, but that's painful. This is a somewhat expensive way to mitigate that pain.
The intent of cloud seeding is to increase the amount of snowpack, even if it's a small amount.
The state plans to roll out more of those cloud seeding drones in the coming months. In West Jordan, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
You know, last episode I covered the technocracy and actually the religious way that Mormons could view merging man with machine. And then prior to that, I made all the connections with Mormonism and Freemasonry. But this episode, I'm connecting all of what's happening in current events with this space exploration and the military industrial complex, you know, and defense industry, when it's really about surveillance from within for all of us. And it's all coming out of Utah and the Mormons. Interestingly enough, too, I didn't cover this on the first episode that I started talking about the Mormon stuff, but Joseph Smith apparently mentioned something called a white horse prophecy, or the white horse prophecy, which it's debated in Mormonism whether it's legitimate or not, because it was said by Edwin Rushton. He was the one who said, this is what Joseph Smith said. So it was sort of hearsay. And Edwin Rushton wrote it. I believe it's a 12-page document. But essentially, the White Horse prophecy was made by Joseph Smith on the future role of his followers in saving an endangered U.S. Constitution. So you take all this Mormon stuff, you take what's happening with Project Bluebeam. What a better way than to save the U.S. Constitution than a fake alien invasion, okay? And yes, the Mormons have something to do with it. It was written down by one of Smith's adherents, Edwin Rushton, in an undated document, possibly 10 years after. I've also heard it could be even longer than that, and separately recorded by follower James Burgess. Rushton's record of Smith's original statement predicts that the U.S. Constitution will one day hang on by a thread, but will be saved by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints by the efforts of the White Horse. According to Rushton's retelling of the prophecy, LDS adherents would go to the Rocky Mountains and be a great and mighty people, associating them with one of the biblical four horsemen of the apocalypse in the book of Revelation. He reportedly said, "You will see the Constitution of the United States almost destroyed. It will hang like a thread as fine as a silk fiber. I love the Constitution. It was made by the inspiration of God and will be preserved and saved by the efforts of the White Horse and by the Red Horse, who will combine in its defense. The meaning of the Red Horse is not stated in the prophecy." According to the diary, Smith also said that Mormons would send missionaries to gather the honest in heart from among the pale horse, or the people of the United States, to stand by the Constitution of the United States as it was given by the inspiration of God. Now, I totally could see all of this fake alien invasion stuff coming right out of Utah with NASA and all this military industrial complex bullshit. And then they come in and they're going to save the day. I mean, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here, but maybe I'm legitimately connecting some dots. And I know I shared a lot of videos today, but I felt like it really puts everything into proper perspective. And hopefully everything I said made sense and you followed along. But yeah, this rabbit hole continues to go on and on and on. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong about 3i Atlas, and maybe we're just so jaded and used to calling things bullshit when it's not. But my gut tells me that this 3i Atlas is the beginning of Bluebeam, and it is, and Utah and the Mormons are connected yet again. So I'll see you next week.